the teaching about the real presence of Jesus in the Eucharist is very difficult to comprehend. When you're going to say to the children, this piece of bread, this wine is the flesh and the blood of Christ, they will not understand it. It is very difficult to understand. It is very difficult, but our gospel for today is asking us not to understand, but to believe. Because based on what I've learned in my philosophical studies, reason cannot grasp, cannot fathom the mystery of faith. Reason cannot explain the deeper reality of faith. Faith, when we speak about faith, it consists in believing when it is beyond the power of reason to believe. The way to see by faith is to shut down the eye of reason. Today, as what I told you, we are asked not to understand, but to believe. And the mystery of the Eucharist, in our gospel for today, it causes division among believers. As a result, many of his disciples returned to their former ways of life. And as a result, because some cannot understand, they complain. Some were murmuring. Many, including his disciples, choose to walk out. And the gospel says they turned their back because they cannot comprehend what Jesus is talking about. Now, this morning I would like to share 3 points with you. Number 1, the gospel today is telling me and you, is encouraging me and you, that whatever happens in your life, stay with Jesus. Like Peter, I love his answer, Lord, to whom shall we go? Like Ruth, may we say, wherever you go, I shall go. Wherever you stay, I'll stay. Because what is life without Jesus? What's the meaning of life without God? My dear friends, whatever happened in your life, good or bad, stay with the Lord. Even if there are things that you don't understand, stay with the Lord. Look at what happened in our first reading. There was a guy who was bedridden for 8 years. There's even a dead people, but they stay with the Lord. They call Peter. Maybe in your life right now, you are experiencing difficulties in relationship. Maybe you are suffering physically. Maybe you are financially broke. Maybe you are so many concerns and anxieties that you question your faith. Stay with the Lord. Lord, to whom shall I go? You have the words of eternal life. And second, this is very interesting. When we don't understand something, don't be tempted to murmur. Because sometimes this is our tendency. When we don't understand, when we don't comprehend, we murmur. And murmuring is the devil's music, and it never makes things better. If you have doubts with your prayer, with your faith, if there are things or teachings that you cannot understand. Use your mouth to ask. Use your mouth to pray for wisdom. Never use your mouth to murmur. When I was a kid, this is one of my behavior. If I don't understand my parents, I don't ask, but I murmur. How many of us, even in our community, before, when we were like, hit by the virus, so many murmuring, so many complaining. Same thing. It happened. This is very biblical. And finally, worst, some others, they are not only murmuring, but some others, they turn back and no longer went about with Jesus. So, what's my point? And this is the last point that I would like to share. If we don't understand something, walking out is not a good Christian virtue. There are some people, if they don't understand, they walk out. If they don't understand, like the disciples, they turn their back. Hey, walking out or turning back, your back to God is not a good Christian practice. And I think it's resembled with what happened in our world nowadays. There are some people, if they don't understand, there are children, if they don't understand their parents, they shut the door, they turn their back. They walk out, they go to their friends, they abandon their parents. Jesus is telling us today, even if everybody is leaving, even if you turn back, even if you will leave me, I will never abandon you. In you, I remain. My dear good people of God, my dear parishioners, start with Jesus, stay with Jesus, and end with Jesus. Remember your promise when you have your wedding day. May that promise be re-echoed today. And you will tell the Lord, Lord, for better or for worse, I'll stay with you. Lord, for better or for worse, I will not abandon you. Because the tendency nowadays, we abandon the Lord when it is not convenient anymore. When comfort is gone, we do abandon Him. When there is no more enjoyment and benefit of satisfaction, we turn our back to God. And today, Jesus is also asking us the same questions. Will you also go away? Are you leaving Jesus too? I wrote a prayer, and this is where I'm going to end my reflection. And it goes like this. Lord, sometimes I really don't understand you. Most of the time, I turn my back to you every time I do against your will. I question your will. I doubted your presence. I failed to follow you. I don't listen to you. But to whom shall I go? Lord, in you I stay. In you